Good morning. So I wanted to take a minute and do a quick review on the Harbor Freight lathe. This model here is the 12 by 36 lathe. I bought it about 3 months ago, and as you can see, there's dust on it, there's shavings on it, so I do use it pretty frequently. I would say 2-3 times a week I get out here and mess around. Not a professional woodworker by any stretch, so if you're looking for a highly technical professional review, this probably isn't the one. But generally most people that are interested in this particular lathe, this style lathe, they're probably not professionals anyway. They're just hobby turners and people that want to just try turning wood. So a little background real quick. I started turning about 6 months ago. I had another Harbor Freight lathe that was a smaller variation. It only lasted about 2 months and then it died. So I was pretty leery to buy this one, but cost-wise for a higher quality one, you're talking somewhere in the $1,000 to $2,000, even upwards of $3,000 or $4,000 for a high quality lathe. And I'm certainly not at that level to drop that kind of money, but if you have that kind of money and you want to go ahead and drop it on that, then always, of course, buy the best that you can. I was okay with this one, but it certainly comes with its shortfalls, being a lesser quality, less expensive lathe. So we'll go ahead and get right into it, and I'll show you some of the features this lathe has, some of the shortcomings of it, or at least what I feel are shortcomings for a lathe. And hopefully you guys will enjoy the review. So let's start out right at the very beginning here with the power head of the lathe. It's a 3/4 horsepower. It's honestly, it's really not that strong. It's good for smaller turnings. You can see I got a bowl already chucked up that I was working on the other day. I'm not sure the exact diameter of this bowl, but it's not 12 inches, it's probably around 8. On the outside edges, when you get out there, the motor does bog down a good bit, so it's certainly, it's not as powerful as it should be. The lathe boasts that has a 12-inch swing capacity, which would mean you could put a 12-inch bowl on here. The motor's really not enough for that. But it will turn it. It just takes you a little longer to get that to work. I have turned some larger pieces. In fact, I have one over in the thing over there that broke on me when I was turning it, but it was a larger piece. This motor does swing so that you can do outboard turning, but again, with the power head, it's really not. It doesn't have the that constant force to keep that turning when you get on the outer edges of your bowls or whatever it is you're going to make. I really haven't tried it with smaller items like pens and stuff like that. I did a couple of pens with it. It performed fine. Pens aren't, they don't really require a lot other than being able to go fast, and so it does turn pens fairly easily, which is good. Sorry about the lighting, it's pretty bad. The speed control on this machine, as you can see, goes up but not back when it's not on. So it's a real problem if you've got something on there that you were turning fast but then you want to stop it. So you have to remember that always turn this down while it's running. In fact, now I got to turn it down. So that's kind of a pain. It does have to be running for that to happen. But again, it's a minor inconvenience for the cost. Overall, I would say this lathe is a functional lathe, but certainly has drawbacks. And one of those is the ends, the points. You can watch many reviews, and they'll tell you that these points should line up pretty accurately. This one, because of the way the head here is held down, which you might not be able to see on the video, is those can be off. So you have to be kind of careful when you're doing that and adjust them accordingly. So especially when you're doing pens and stuff like that, those have to be as exact as you can get them so that your pens come out correctly. I wouldn't recommend this lathe for pen turning, honestly. It's probably not the best option out there. There are some other lower cost, smaller lathes. If pens and smaller turnings are going to be your primary focus, this is probably not the right lathe. As far as quality goes on this lathe, the bed, it's pretty heavy, it's pretty solid, and I'll show you that here in just a second. But the stand that it comes with is pretty cheap and flimsy, and honestly, and I'll show you that too in a second. But as far as the actual operation, it's pretty simple. It's an on-off switch, speed control, your mechanism to lock the head down after you've turned it, and on the back side here is your release to swivel your head. It's got preset notches in it. So that it's pretty straightforward, honestly. It's not too difficult to set up. I set it up by myself. It is heavy, so if you can't lift a couple hundred pounds, you probably want to have a friend come over and just help you get this bed together. But otherwise, you probably could do it yourself. The assembly part, putting the bed together, was not the bed, sorry, the legs. Putting the legs together was kind of a pain in the ass because they were flimsy, so they wouldn't really, they weren't steady. So it took me a little bit of a while to figure that out. But if you're into wood turning and mechanically inclined, you'll figure it out. So let's go ahead now and I'll go over the basic stuff here. It comes with a 12-inch tool rest, which is decent, but you definitely they got some black stuff they put on it, and I'm not really sure why, probably to protect the metal. But you got to go ahead and get rid of that, sand that off, get a nice smooth surface on there so your tools slide across it. You don't want your tools fetching up on your tool rest while you're trying to turn. You don't want that. The handles that come on these, the base handle that holds it to your base of your lathe is pretty solid. You'll clamp that down and it'll hold pretty well. These little things here, I'm going to take this one off just so you can take a look at it. Oh, actually, in fact, I have it right here. And I'll show you real quick here. So here you got, this is the extension arm. So if you're going to do an outboard turning, it comes with an extension arm. Now this piece right here actually looked like this a little while ago. They're cheap plastic handles. So this broke. Now you can clamp it. I use a pair of vice grips and clamp it and tighten it up. But again, not good quality. Again, garbage. But the bolt itself, you can clamp with some vice grips and make it work. You could probably go to your local hardware store. I don't know what you got. We have Home Depot, Lowe's, Tractor Supply. I could probably match that bolt up with something, and I could probably work something out for that. But honestly, it's a pair of vice grips I already have sitting around, so it works just fine. But again, those handles, they pretty much suck. They will do the job for a short time until you strip them out. Outboard turning, it's pretty decent. There is a little play in this when you get it on there and clamp down, and I'll show you all that here in just a minute. It comes with a live center, and it's certainly, again, you paid $300 and change for this lathe, so if you're expecting a high quality live center, you bought the wrong lathe. I haven't swapped it out, honestly, because for what I do, it works just fine. But if you're really into really meticulous, high quality turnings and you're using your lathe a lot, this is not going to cut it. You'll have to swap that out for a better piece. And you can get those on rockler.com. There's all kinds of places to get them. So 60, 70 bucks probably. But you can trade that out. As far as tools go, if you're new and you're watching this to get an idea of what you should buy, what you shouldn't buy, I'm going to tell you right now, get a good set of tools. Spend a little money on your tools, and your tools are going to save you a lot of aggravation. And learn how to sharpen them, learn how to take care of them, and learn how to use them. Because if you're not using the tool correctly, it's not going to work. You're going to get frustrated, and you're going to find that it's just not worth your time, and you're probably going to stop turning. So learn how to use them. They make carbide scrapers now that actually work pretty well. I mean, if you're new and you're learning, get you some carbide scrapers. They'll get you started, and then you can work on your other tools and learn how to use them. Contact one of your local chapters. There's probably a group of wood turners right local to you that you can reach out to, and someone I'm sure will help you learn how to do that. All right, so back to the lathe real quick. I'm just going to tip my camera up here so you can see the legs and what I've had to do. Well, hold on here. We're just going to lower that, I think, probably. So let's look right down here. You see down here I got all kinds of shavings because, like I said, I really am out here working it. But as I blow these shavings away, you can see I have 3 50-pound bags of sand on my table legs, and I put some decking underneath there to hold that up. So this lathe is light. It says 300 pounds, and I didn't weigh it obviously, but when you get a bowl on there and it starts turning, and it's going to bounce around. So first thing you want to do is go ahead and get you some 50-pound bags of sand. They're $3 or $4 at the hardware store. Get some 2x4s, cut them up, and make a deck there, and weight this thing down a little bit. But some of the things I was talking about, you can see, I don't know if you can see it here, but this base here is pretty flimsy. I mean, you can move it. There's a gap right here. I don't know if you can see that on the video or not, but it doesn't line up just right. So there is some issues with, or at least on this lathe. Now I don't know if you buy one, it might fit perfectly together, but there is some issues with this. The legs didn't quite line up exactly right. But again, that doesn't affect the bed. The bed is one piece solid all the way across, so that piece there is pretty straight and level, and you have to level everything up anyway. So aside from that, the base being pretty flimsy and not real durable, it's a decent setup. So let me give you some basics here. We'll get this camera straightened up. As we go through safety in your shop, I know you can't see my face up here, but safety in your shop, it's your shop, it's your safety. So you want to pay attention to what you're doing. Wear glasses, face masks, Don't just come out here with nothing on and start turning wood, or you're going to probably end up losing an eye. So we'll go ahead. Everything's secured down here. Always free spin this before you get going. Make sure it's not going to catch on anything. I have these strings here, but now that we have that on, we're going to get rid of those. No one wants to be sucked into that. That won't be fun. So you can see here it's turning. This mold's got a lot of cracks in it, and so I'm going to go real easy here, but I'm going to give you the basic idea of what I'm talking about when I say it slows down. Alright, here I got a Rockler carbide scraper, a round scraper, and I'm just going to go ahead and rest it on my tool rest, and I'm going to advance it in. I'm not taking a big cut here. I'm taking very light cuts because, like I said, this bowl has a lot of cracks in it that I'm going to have to fill in later. So as you can see, what I'll show you here is if I really get into this, I'm not sure how well you can see that on the camera, but this really slows down a significant amount. And that's going to cause catches and all sorts of other tears and rips and stuff in your wood. So you really have to go, you've got to take your time with this particular lathe. Like you see in the videos, the guys using the, take that tool out of there. The guys using like a Powermatic and that sort of thing, they'll be able to drill right in. They'll take huge cuts because that 2 horsepower, 2.5 horsepower motor, you're gonna have a hard time to bog that down. You still can, but nothing like a 3/4 horsepower. I mean, it's like going from a Chevy Cavalier to a Ferrari. So the difference in power is pretty significant. So when you're doing this, take your time, maintain that speed. And really, every cut should be your last cut is kind of the theory. So Again, we're going to get in there, just easy cuts. And that'll maintain speed pretty well, as long as you're taking it easy. Now, again, so just a quick, and then if you want to adjust the speed, you just come over here. All you got to do is take your speed control, turn it up. But again, you know, find a speed that you're comfortable working at. I don't need to spin this bowl 3,000 or 4,000 RPM, so we're going to turn it right back down to where I had it. Shut it off. That's a piece of red oak, if you're wondering. Again, not a super expensive piece of wood. I think I paid 10 bucks for 10 or 15 pieces of it. But it's a functional piece of wood. So that's kind of the Harbor Freight lathe in a nutshell.